What is good, everyone? This is your host, Deanna Kemple with Label Free Podcast. To live your best life, you must live label free. I'm super pumped. We have a very cool guest. Please meet Dr. Michelle May. She is the founder of Am I Hungry and also the author of Eat What You Love and Love What You Eat. I got it right, Michelle?
Got it right.
Well, thank you for joining us today. Can you please introduce yourself and tell the audience a little bit about your background?
I'd love to. I was probably like many women, and I think many men in America, I had a long love-hate relationship with food. I actually started dieting at a pretty young age, thinking that I needed to control my eating and in order to control my appearance, and that devolved into disordered eating.
Yeah.
I ate in yeah, sometimes eating whatever I wanted and then sometimes very restrictive, and really fell into a yo-yo diet pattern that I now call the eat, repent, repeat cycle. I did it all the way through high school and college into medical school.
Oh, wow.
And then when I entered my medical school practice, I realized that a lot of my patients were struggling with exactly the same issue. They knew what to do,
Yeah.
but they weren't able to do it for a prolonged period of time. And many times they would go from one extreme to the other. So once I finally healed my own relationship with food, I became really passionate about helping others. I eventually left my medical practice, and now full time, I teach people how to develop a healthy, joyful relationship with food, and more important, to spend their energy living the big, vibrant life they really crave.
Yeah, no, that's fantastic. And before we started recording, I think that a lot of people aren't mindful with their eating habits, and I'm sure a lot of your clients that you work with, that there's something else going on that's creating that dysfunctional relationship with food. And until they actually identify that, and because it's almost like self-soothing, right? When you are eating that way, or just like an alcoholic or a drug addict or something, if someone's using food as a self-soothing mechanism to get through whatever might be bothering them at whatever stage in life, and then it just
Yeah.
becomes a habit.
I think that's such an important point. So many people focus on what they're eating and how much they're eating, even when they're eating, but they're not addressing why they're eating in the first place. Now, that's not to say that everybody who struggles with food has some deep, dark psychological issue with it. Some of us have just learned habits of using food to comfort or distract ourselves or entertain ourselves. And some of us have gotten into this pattern partly because restriction and deprivation in and of itself can create cravings and overeating, which many people don't realize. They think their problem is willpower, when in fact the attempt to constantly control what they're eating backfires for some people.
Yeah.
So I teach people that it's not about being in control, it's about being in charge, which means that you're making choices about what you eat based on how you want to feel and how food affects you and what you're doing and all of these other things. And so really it's not so much about eating the perfect diet, it's
Right.
really about figuring out what the perfect way to eat is for you, as you've apparently figured out for yourself.
Yeah. Yeah. And I don't deprive myself. So like last night, my boyfriend was over. We spent the night together, and I was baking apple turnovers at 8:30 at night. But
Yes.
like that's like a one time. We haven't seen each other all week, so that's like a one time. Like we'll reward ourselves on a Sunday night. Like, oh hey, we're hanging out and we're having fun. And but I know how to just eat the rest of the week. I mean, I like eating clean. I personally don't. I don't like to use food as a way to self-soothe, because I feel worse afterwards. So
Yes, and not only that, is when we use food to try to meet all of these other needs, it doesn't work all that well. And
yeah.
so these other needs go unmet, and so the cravings feel stronger, and we're back at the refrigerator again and again. So part of the beautiful thing that I love about this work is that it's not just teaching people how to heal their relationship with food, but it's about teaching them to build a bigger, better toolbox for how to take care of themselves, how to soothe
Yes.
themselves, comfort themselves, entertain themselves reward themselves so that eventually food takes its proper place, a
Yeah.
part of your life, and that you
Yeah.
can eat apple turnovers if that's what you want to do
That's good.
without feeling guilty and ashamed, and
Yeah.
also without attempting to use apple turnovers to meet every other need. They don't work that well for that.
This is true. So when you take on a client and you start working with them, what does that process look like?
Well, I work with people in a lot of different ways. I do some coaching. I have an online mind fleeting support community, and we run retreats currently virtually, but we also
Okay.
run these 3-day weekend retreats. I just came off of one, so I'm still a little
Yeah,
jazzed
yeah,
because it's so exciting to see people transform.
yeah,
But an important place to start for most people is to recognize the patterns of eating that have gotten them into difficulties. So we describe three main patterns: instinctive eating, which is really how all of us are born, with this innate ability to know when we're hungry and know when we're full, to eat what we love, but not think about food all the time in between.
yeah,
The next pattern is overeating, where we're eating in response to triggers, whether it's stress or boredom or loneliness or anger or reward, whatever it is. When we realize that the trigger is driving the eating, then we understand why we choose the foods we do, why we eat them the way we do, how much we eat, and how we feel afterwards, as you just referred to a moment ago.
yeah,
And then the last eating cycle we explore is called restrictive eating. And for many people, this is dieting, weight loss dieting. It could be restriction for other health reasons. But the important thing here is that it feels restrictive. It's not what you're describing, where I prefer to eat clean. I enjoy this.
yeah,
I eat an apple turnover if I want. In restrictive eating, you're thinking and talking about food all the time. You're
mhm,
using rules to help you determine what you should eat. It's
yeah,
all about control.
yeah.
So once we have people look at these patterns of eating and start to identify what's been going on for them, what I find for most people, Deanna, is that many people vacillate from overeating, restrictive
Yeah,
eating. That's that yo-yo that we
yeah,
often talk about. And here's the thing, a yo yo doesn't stop in the middle.
no,
So people end up going from one extreme to the other.
yeah,
Once they recognize that, and once they can see that there's not something wrong with them, but this pattern of trying to restrict in order to heal their relationship with food doesn't work. You have to literally get to the roots of what's driving eating and think of a new way or develop a new way to make decisions about eating that aren't based on rigid rules.
So the goal is, would you say, to get to with your clients for you is to get them to become instinctual?
Well, when I started this work, I thought that was it. Now I realize it's really about being mindful. In
Okay.
other words, about eating with intention and attention, eating with
Mm,
purpose and awareness. So when people begin to develop purpose for their eating, for example, my favorite intention for eating is to feel better when I'm done than I did when
yeah,
I started. So I don't want to eat until I'm actually hungry enough to start feeling a little uncomfortable and break away from what I'm doing. Eat, but stop eating at the point where I still feel good. I'm not overly full and sluggish and tired. And
yeah,
so having an intention like that of feeling good really can help guide all of the decisions around eating. And then eating with attention or awareness is really about noticing the food, noticing how it's affecting your body, even engaging with what's happening around you, so that you're not just mindlessly putting food in your mouth that you later won't even remember, except you realize you're really full and uncomfortable.
yeah. What is good, everyone? This is your host, Deanna Kemple with Label Free Podcast. Live your best life. You must live label free. Ho, 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 ladies. The holidays came early, not only for you, but for your man here at Manscaped, the leading men's hygiene brand. Manscaped just launched new products that your man will actually use, including their all new ultra premium body wash and a 2-in-1 shampoo and conditioner. Also, this awesome refined cologne. It smells so sexy. My man loves it. I love him wearing it, especially after he's all clean shaven, using the lawnmower 4.0 and trimming those nasty nose hairs and those ear hairs. You know what I'm saying, ladies? It's time to give the man in your life the gift of beautiful skin, hair, and balls this holiday season. Go to manscaped.com and use the code labelfree20 for 20% off and free shipping. That's right, ladies, 20% off and free shipping with the code labelfree20 at manscaped.com. I've talked to a lot of different coaches, dietitians. I've never heard anybody. You're the first that I've talked to that offers this kind of coaching for people, which is very very important because you're right. And I never thought about it because I don't have a bad relationship with food.
Right.
So, but to have like intention and attention, yeah, like you said, I there's been times when I've overate and it is the most uncomfortable thing, and you feel
It's
so yucky, like
Absolutely.
ugh.
Yes, 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 yes. So people who have a difficult relationship with food feel guilt and shame when that happens. Someone like yourself who has a healthy relationship with food doesn't feel guilty, but you might feel regretful.
Yes.
And when you do that, you can take that information, that regret, and you can use it to help you in future situations so you don't keep making the same mistake. When people feel guilty about how they ate and how they feel, it actually drives more overeating. Like,
Uh,
well, I've already blown it. I might as well keep eating.
yeah.
Or, oh, I'm going to go back on my diet tomorrow. So I might as well just finish this off because I won't want to be tempted by it tomorrow.
Yeah.
And that's the eat, repent, repeat cycle that I was talking about. When you have a healthy relationship with food, which is what I help people develop, then you can eat whatever. And if you make a mistake, you go, oh boy, that didn't feel great. I wish
Yeah.
I hadn't done that. What would I do differently next time?
Yeah. Do you find that there's a majority of more women or men that struggle with this relationship with food?
It's undoubtedly women.
Yeah.
Um, However, it's very common in men and it's becoming more common, I think. It's just that men are less willing to reach out and ask for help with it. It seems like it's something that women struggle with.
Yeah.
What's interesting about it though is that the way that I approach this, it's very practical, it's very logical. It sounds a little bit, I know, kind of woo woo as you and I are talking about it, but the truth is there is a system to help you rethink your relationship with food. And men, when they learn it, they just catch right onto it and it makes a big difference for them. So I love working with men and I wish more of them would come and ask for the help because once you heal your relationship with food, it creates so much space in your life for everything else you want.
Not only that, but like that, let's not negate the health factor. I mean, if someone is having a bad relationship with food, there's typically they're going to have health problems that come along with that. So once they develop a healthier relationship, they make better choices, and they probably lose. I would assume start losing weight if they're overweight, and that's just part of the process.
Yeah, it's interesting because when I started doing this work over 20 years ago, I thought it was about weight management. But the longer I do this work, the more I realize that weight change might or might not be a side effect. And the more I've opened myself, we're now a weight neutral or a weight inclusive approach.
Hmm.
And the more we approach this from, hey, we're not doing this to change your weight. We're doing
Right.
this to improve your well-being. I find now I get people of all sizes, smaller to larger bodies who really literally want to free their energy up to be able to
Yeah.
do the things that they want and feel better.
Yeah.
So weight may or may not change. I feel like that's not my business. That's your
Okay.
body's business. All I can do is guide you to make decisions that don't keep backfiring on you like dieting does.
Yeah, wow, that's awesome. Let's talk about your book really quick. So it's Eat What You Love What You Eat. So when did you write your book?
Well, I wrote that original book in 2010 and I have revised it numerous times. I'm always learning and growing and adapting. And so the most recent edition was 2020. I took the
Oh, wow.
format of that book, which is the mindful eating cycle, the structure that I was referring to before, and I wrote several other books using exactly that same structure. So we have Eat What You Love What You Eat for diabetes. one for binge eating disorder. I have one for students. I teach at Arizona State University. And so we're taking the same concepts, but adapting them for different audiences who may have slightly different challenges.
Wow, that's awesome. I love it. Oh my goodness. I think that is so necessary. So, where can, before we start wrapping things up and I can let you get back to your day, where can the audience find you, find your books, all that good stuff?
I think the simplest place is to go to amihungry.com. So amihungry.com. The question, am I hungry? And on that homepage, if you look through there, you're going to find several free resources, a mindful eating toolkit to get you started. You can also download the first chapter of Eat What You Love, Love What You Eat for free. And that will give you the mindful eating cycle and help you figure out whether you're struggling with overeating or restrictive eating or both, or whether your pattern is more of an instinctive pattern. So
Sure.
it's a good place to get started to figure out whether this is even an approach that might be beneficial for you.
So, you actually just prompted a question for me. So, if somebody is instinctual, like myself,
Mhm.
that doesn't necessarily mean that they wouldn't need the help to be mindful.
Oh, I'm so glad you asked that. That's very perceptive. So, I also train health and wellness professionals who want to learn how to offer workshops and coaching and programs. And one of the funny things that happens is many of them say, "Oh my gosh, I thought I had a really healthy relationship with food. I took this training and I realized how much difficulty time I was spending thinking about food and how many restrictive thoughts I had and how much I was
Mm,
using exercise to pay penance for eating
mm.
or exercise to earn the right to eat. So I think all of us can develop a healthier relationship with food and I think this approach can really do that no matter where you are along that continuum.
I might have to download that first chapter and
Please
see.
do. And if you love it, just drop me an email. I'll send you a copy. I'd
Uh,
love for you to have it.
you're awesome. So before we say goodbye, is there any last words of wisdom or advice you'd like to leave for the audience?
Well, I said that the website's called amihungry.com. So here's my advice. The next time you feel like eating, instead of starting to think about what's in the refrigerator or thinking about what you can or can't eat, just pause for a moment and ask yourself, am I physically hungry?
Hmm.
Am I physically hungry? In other words, does my body need food or do I just want food?
Yeah.
That simple question will help guide you inward to figure out whether this is a time that your body needs fuel, or maybe your body needs a nap, or a break, or a walk, or a glass of water, or something else.
Oh, I love that. You're awesome, Michelle. Oh my goodness. Oh, we're gonna have to maybe do a follow up in a couple of
I
months
would
or
love
something.
to. I would love to because this is a really rich topic, and I know
Yeah.
it goes a bit against the grain for what most people are hearing about food and eating. But I don't think what most people are hearing is working all that well. So
No,
I think it's about time that we start looking at it from a different angle.
I love it. It's very. I think it's very insightful for definitely, and I think it's necessary with our society. I mean, that's just my opinion.
Yeah, we've got
But
an abundant food environment and a diet and weight obsessed culture. We are living in a really high risk time for problems with eating, and so I think it's time that we start looking at how to resolve that.
woo! With that being said, thank you so much for being a guest, Michelle. You guys, this is your host, Deanna Kumpel with Label Free Podcast. To live your best life, you must live label free. Please don't forget to subscribe, like, comment, and share. And I'll be back soon with more dynamic guests.